Hi, first grade. This is our video for Thursday, April the 2nd, 2020. You've done it. You've made it through another week of school. I'm so proud of you for working so hard. I love seeing all your fantastic work this week. And what I've graded so far, I've seen such a great job. Capitals, punctuation, excellent writing. Keep up the great work. We're starting today's video in my kitchen, and this is why. Isn't it kind of a crazy place to start? But because what have we been learning about this week? In reading class, yes, we've been learning about Mexico, which is part of the continent of North America. There we are in the United States. First grade is Mexico, north, east, west, or south of us. Never eat. You got it, soggy waffles, so it must be what? South of us. Well, the funny reason that we're starting in my kitchen this morning is because earlier this week on one of these videos, I was telling you how Mexico produces a lot of avocados and that chocolate actually originated in Mexico. And I kind of made a joke about how, I don't know though, should we eat them together? And I was like, I don't know, that kind of sounds gross. Well, guess what? Mrs. Bean sent me a recipe. You know Mrs. Bean. She comes and does our Bible verse each week, so you say your Bible verse to her. She sent me a recipe for chocolate pudding made with avocados. I was like, I don't know about this. Guess what? I made the chocolate pudding. I just wanted to show you. I made chocolate pudding. It is so delicious. First grade, we did not tell anybody in my family what was in it. And we just said, come and try this chocolate pudding. I go, it may taste a little different than what you're used to, but I think you'll like it. Guess what? My whole family loved it. So Mrs. Bean taught me something new this week. We should keep trying new things because sometimes we think, well, I don't know if that'll go together. And guess what? It was delicious. So thanks so much for that, Mrs. Bean. We enjoyed that. It was a great treat for two things that are different that we think about Mexico with. This week, we've also been talking about Jesus and Palm Sunday and the triumphal entry. And then we talked about the Last Supper. We often see at church where you'll have bread and some kind of juice usually that's maybe purple colored. And this is a medicine cup. I just don't have a communion cup. That's called communion. And we break the bread and we drink the juice, and we do that to remind us of Jesus' sacrifice on the cross for us. So when Jesus is meeting with his disciples, he says, do this in remembrance of me. So first grade, guess what this is? Something we've studied a whole lot in first grade. A symbol. It's a symbol. And Jesus says, I want you to take this symbol and do that to remember the sacrifice that I made for you and that I have saved you from your sins. Isn't that so fantastic? I also am starting here because I want to talk to you about some math. We've started graphing. Yay, I love graphing, and I want to show you just a few things and some type of graphs that we're going to see today. Okay, so let me just move my camera and show you, okay? First grade, what are these? Yes, you know what we have to do to earn them, right? In first grade, how do you get a starburst? Tell somebody around you how you get a starburst. Okay, well, guess what I'm doing? A graph is just a chart that gives us information. So look, I'm using these starbursts. You could use anything in your house that you want to. I'm using these starbursts to figure out how many I have of each color. When they were just a big old mess, they weren't very organized for putting together, right? But now that I've put them in a chart, I can clearly see how many red ones do I have, right? How many orange ones do I have? Do you see going over? How many pink ones do I have? So let me ask you a math question. Look at my chart and tell me, do I have the same, do I have an equal or a greater than or a less than amount of orange and pink? Okay, right, I have an equal amount. What about red? How many more red do I have than orange? Well, first grade, couldn't I just count how many I have over? See, that's how many I have over, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 more red ones. So I could use that chart to tell me information. This, of course, is a bar graph that we just made. You can see how these make colored bars. I could take the same information, I could put it into a pie chart. I really like pie charts because I think pie charts actually look a little bit like pie, and who doesn't like pie, right? Well, look, it's this exact same information, but now I've put it in a pie chart. Here's what, do you see my fractions in here? Half of my, if I have 20 altogether, half of them are what color? And a fourth are what color? And a fourth are what color? See how the different graph can give me different information? There's another pie chart that you've looked at that we learned about in first grade. Do you guys remember what that is? That's our food plate, and we talked about how we should eat fruits and vegetables every day and grains and proteins, and that's divided into a pie chart for us to be able to tell. Isn't that so neat? So today in math, you are going to be doing things with these kind of charts. So make sure you really look at it. Let me show you one more how you could do one at your house. Look at, I made another one of how much fruit is in my house. Now, you guys know I'm not the best artist, but let's see what I've got. This is supposed to be an apple. This is supposed to be a banana, and this is my avocado that I have left over after I made my pudding. So, do I have more apples or bananas? Right, apples. My chart tells me that information really fast. I can find that information out really fast by just being able to see that there's more apples. So that's why graphs are so important. They help us read information quickly. Isn't that cool? First grade, I wanted to show you some photos of our friends. I didn't do it at the beginning. I thought I would do it now because I wanted to show you. Here is Scarlett. Remember yesterday's graph we made? We made a Venn diagram. Guess what Scarlett made out of a jump rope? You're right, she made a Venn diagram. Isn't that so cool? That's something that you can totally do at home. Scarlett compared and contrasted that way. Here's Emma doing our noun and verb sort with our owls. Very good job, Emma. I bet Emma could tell you the difference between a noun and a verb. I love it. Here's Eliza. Remember in our Zoom meeting how she was telling us that she was doing fire pits and campfires with her dad and her family? I love it. Thanks, Eliza, for letting us see that great smile while you guys are having so much fun. What a fun adventure that is. I for sure had to show you Miss Berea. Berea is, after Mrs. Veen sent me the recipe, Berea had it too, and guess what? They made it, and they loved it. I have one more after Berea, another April Fool's joke that I always love, you know. There's Mr. Isaiah. Guess what? If you could look really close at his plate, his mom gave him green eggs for breakfast. Isn't that so silly? Friends, it's so good to see you. It makes our hearts so happy to see our smiling faces. Keep sending them in. Okay, let's do a quick story. Go get your blankie and your stuffy. Okay, first grade, here is our story for the day, the story of Easter. We've studied the first half of the story of the Easter in Bible this week, and then next week we're actually going to study the second half. So you'll be, this whole story will cover all of it, but we'll be studying that more next week. It says, Jesus came to earth to live as a man. He was one of us, a part of God's great plan. He taught us the truth and what God's love meant. Many people followed him everywhere he went. One day on a donkey, he entered a great town. His followers all cheered, but some men wore a frown. These men hated Jesus and all that he had done. They were cross when Jesus said he was God's own son. Can you see them? Look at their faces. Can you see right here? Do you see the ones who look cross? Jesus shared a supper with all his dearest friends, the Last Supper. He knew his time on earth was coming to an end. He went into a garden late that night to pray. Desperate, he said, "Father, is this the only way?" The men who hated Jesus found him praying there. They took him to be judged, even though it was not fair. They asked Jesus questions for a very long time, but could not find him guilty of a single crime. When the ruler called Pilate wished to set Jesus free, many in the crowd shouted, "Hang him on a tree!" Isn't that horrible? Jesus was not guilty, but he was put on a cross. Just as God had told him, his life must be lost. Suddenly, the sky went dark and everyone was scared. 3 hours later, Jesus died and all his friends despaired, which means really sad. Like not just a little sad, like really, really sad. Some men took his body and put it in a cave. They rolled a stone across to make a sealed grave. On the third day, to everyone's surprise, the stone had moved away and Jesus was alive. I bet you knew that was what would rhyme. And all this was God's plan, that Jesus had to die to pay the price for sin, for all our wrongs and lies. And so because of Jesus, when our lives are through, we can live in heaven if we trust and love him too. First grade, the story of Easter is the very best story ever. There's my son Tyler. Can you see him walking by? Tyler, do you want to wave? Tyler knows that Easter is one of the most, if not the most important thing ever. Jesus came to earth as a baby. We celebrate that at Christmas. But what really is important is he came to die for us, for our sins. And we're going to talk more about that next week. First grade, do a great job for school today. I'll talk to you soon. Do your best.